All right, I'll call the meeting to order.
The meeting has been posted according to open meeting laws.
Roll call.
President Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Harding.
Here.
Trustee Holm.
Here.
Trustee Moody.
Here.
Trustee Nugent. Here. Trustee Seeger.
Here.
Trustee Wisniewski.
Here.
All right, we'll start with citizen participation per Village Resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the village board during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject must specifically relate to matters under the jurisdiction of the village board, whether on the agenda or not. The village board should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of the publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of this citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they're participating in a public hearing or specifically allowed by a majority vote of the village board due to involvement in an agenda item. You guys made me read that whole thing and then just sat there. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll close this participation. Consent agenda. One motion and a second will approve all the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second that.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to miscellaneous business. Update, item 1, update from Victor and Magnolia Stanford on 2954 Main Street project. Victor, I'm surprised you're not out there working right now.
Right.
Just hit the button there.
There we go. So a good bit of progress since the last time we spoke. We've completed pretty much all of the exterior framing. We should have the sheathing done by the end of the week. We're in the process of scheduling the window install and the roofing. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks here, we'll be all dried in, and then we can move on to the utilities on the interior and finishes. So any questions?
I guess I've got some questions.
Sure.
It seems to be taking quite a while.
It sure is.
And I know that last visit you had identified the foundation was done, and I thought, well, maybe that was a little bit of a hold-up getting all that prepped.
Yep.
But it was capped last time we were here.
Yep.
And it just seems to just sit. I'm worried about the progress. I don't want to have another situation where we've got to condemn property because this moisture and what we have weather today is
Sure.
going to saturate it and become moldy and become another problem.
Is that
in the
an offer
community.
to help?
I can if you'd like to. I'm a carpenter, so I'm more than happy to help with that.
That'd be great. I mean, to be honest with you, we're working at the pace that we can. We've got a tight budget. We're operating a business, and we're doing the best that we can. Beyond that, I mean, I'd love to say, we could go a lot faster or anything like that, but we're working at the best pace we can at the moment.
You're just understanding my concern.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm concerned as well.
Yeah. I've been a
Believe me,
contractor for over 30
Things have taken a lot
years.
longer than
Right.
we had anticipated, but it's just kind of the pace that we've got, unfortunately.
Okay. Any means to try and speed it up a little bit?
Like I said, we're kind of through the end of the framing aspects. We've been doing this all ourselves. We haven't hired really any outside help up to this point. So there have been a lot of times where, me working on my own, I've got to wait a couple of days till I can assemble a crew to get a couple of things done, that sort of thing, framing wise. We're basically through that point now. So from this point forward, things should pick up the pace, but beyond, saying we're giving it our best, I really don't have anything that I could present to you saying, oh, this is our golden plan to do anything much faster.
Okay. Well, when I'm finished with my kitchen remodel that I'm in the middle of right now, I'll come help you out.
Sounds good.
All right.
Other questions? All right.
All right, thank
Thanks.
you.
All right, item 2, recommendation from Plan Commission to approve housing development opportunity analysis. Eileen?
So the Housing Development Opportunity Analysis was something that WACDA, which is Walworth County Economic Development Alliance, approached us on. They had selected 2 municipalities in Walworth County to do this for, and it was kind of as a test to see if it's a useful tool, and they would hopefully be doing it for other municipalities. Obviously, their goal is to address the workforce housing shortages in the county, and as you probably read in that analysis, when they begin that introduction, they talk about those issues that they're trying to address. So really, the purpose of the analysis is for us to be able to use it as a tool with developers, and I think it's helpful for a developer to know that that has been reviewed by both the Plan Commission and Village Board, and there's a general consensus that that is an acceptable analysis. Obviously, by approving it, you're not agreeing to a specific development. Those would still need to go through the same approval processes any housing development needs to, but it is a helpful tool. Like when I've met with developers in the past, we're kind of just going through piecemeal looking at properties, and I'm giving them information sheets, and this gives them a really nice summary. So Vandewall had prepared it. As I pointed out in my memo, we have not contacted any of the property owners with properties identified in this report. That would really come down to a developer working with those property owners. So this is not saying that any specific property owner is looking at selling their property or ready to sell a property, but it's just to be used as a resource. Were there any questions on it?
Does it make sense to communicate with those families, those property owners? Just being proactive and just let them know that it's on this report and that it's more of our information versus, they're gonna buy the land. I don't know.
We can, if that's what the board would like. I think it would be better that the developers reach out directly to talk to them.
I know Ray has, in the past, contacted some of these, and, at those times, they weren't interested in selling, but, situations change, so. But yeah, I think if you can go to the map. And the CDA met last week to talk about, or to meet with people to kind of help with how to market East Troy from a business development and a residential development standpoint, not like a tourism marketing, but a development type marketing. So having, I think, something like this, a one-pager that's like, hey, these are different options, I want to build, in a higher density area. Well, those are kind of more in the brown there. We've talked at length about the CMERT site there that you see there, and we saw some proposals there for some units, and that's kind of a mixed type of development. More of the single-family stuff further out, where you have larger amounts of property. I thought what was interesting about this identification is it did identify a piece of property there on the west side, or going west on 20 there, that is contiguous, and it's coming off of the school property there. So it just barely touches that. Those middle properties there, we can't really look at there because they're environmental corridor, so they're deed restricted. So I think this is just, I think reaching out to some of these people know, others, we've been reached out to. I mean, if the board feels like that we should do that, then we can, but that's kind of the history.
And it might be premature to reach out to some of them because some of this might never come to fruition as well. Some of the properties within the village are already zoned for residential. There's a couple that were actually previously platted before the recession and then never developed. So some of them would not be surprising whatsoever.
Other thoughts or questions? Are you looking for a motion for us to adopt this like the Plan Commission did?
Yeah, I think a motion would be helpful just because it would give developers and, if we're working with brokers or even with CETA as they talk to developers, it gives them confidence that this has been reviewed and there's a general consensus that it is acceptable.
I'll make a motion to approve the Housing Development Opportunity Analysis.
I'll second that.
All right, questions or discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to ordinances and resolutions. Item 1, ordinance 2025-04, creating subsection 458-25K for Clark Street parking. And so just adds that to what we call out as specific different types of parking rules, given that we've added the angled parking there. Yes, Chief. Did you?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-04, creating section 458-25K, Clark Street parking.
Second?
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, ordinance 2025-06, creating subsection 189-6E pertaining to the feeding of feral, stray, or wild animals. And we have 2 items here, and Chief's got a memo here. So, Chief, you want to walk us through the situation?
Yeah, so the end of July, I received an email from a village resident that lives on St. Peter's Road who is really concerned regarding the feral cats. They've lived there for 20 years, and the feral cat situation has just gotten worse. They've had to replace screens on their house. There's feces all over in their garden and in their lawn. They have actually a pond in their backyard, and their filtration system got ruined by the feces. So, and recently it's gotten bad again, where they actually took 6 kittens to Lakeland, and all of them were really in poor health. I know 1 or 2 of them were put down. So she's just really concerned and wanted to know what could be done. And she identified a couple of her neighbors that she believed were feeding the cats, leaving food outside, that kind of thing. So I went and spoke with them. I explained our situation, and they said that they would stop. Both of them said they have outside cats, though, so I don't necessarily know if they are truly their outside cats or if they're just cats that hang around their house because they feed them. So I explained to him that I was going to propose a ordinance to the village board to try to not allow the feeding of feral and wild animals in the village here, to see if we can get the population down. I did contact, like, Lakeland Animal Shelter. They just don't have the resources to deal with this, and us trapping them and taking them over there, they just don't have the space, the resources to deal with us bringing over 30 to 40 feral cats, just because they're hard to get adopted because they're feral, and people just don't want them. So I guess the first step would be, and just on a side note, last year, our code enforcement did some trapping in Sterling Oaks, and they took quite a few cats over to Lakeland at that time. And I thought that would hopefully alleviate some of the issues, but obviously it hasn't. So I worked with Attorney Geary on an ordinance. I gave him some examples of kind of what I was looking for. The first one, I think, is the one that he proposed. And in that one, he didn't, I don't know if you can see, there's 2 different ones under E. I added a little bit more to that, of them knowingly and recklessly leaving food outside. If somebody has outdoor cats, you can put food out, but I don't think it needs to sit out there 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. I think we're just attracting more animals. So the ordinance that I like is the second one that you see, just because it says no person may knowingly or recklessly feed, and no person shall knowingly or recklessly leave food or any other type of feed outdoors to attract the animals. So I'm my suggestion is the second one, because I'd like them to have no food left outside whatsoever. And in talking to Lakeland, they said to try to get rid of this problem is you have to limit their food, water, and shelter as much as possible, because that's what they're attracted to, so. I think, well, Matt lives in Sterling Oaks, so I think he can, and I know Brian can kind of talk to this too, because he lives off Thomas Drive, kind of right in the area of where my complainant is, on the backside of Brian's house on St. Peter's, so he kind of has an idea of what the situation is there too.
Chief, the difference between a cat and a dog, if you own a dog, you can't let it just go and roam. Is the cat fall under a different set of rules?
No, that's the same thing. And when I spoke with those two residents, I kind of mentioned to them, I said, you say you have outdoor cats. I said, they need to stay in your yard. If a neighbor reports your outdoor cats are leaving your yard and coming into theirs, it can be a citation for animal at large. So it is just like dogs. And they kind of looked at me when I said it. So I think they were starting to think like maybe I should hopefully somehow try to keep the cats in my yard, but you can't keep cats in your yard. So
No, and I know dogs have the electric fences or the boundaries that can be built and the dog can be trained. I don't believe anything exists for a cat to do the same thing. I don't know what an outside cat means. If that's just letting them roam, that might be a place to address
and it
as
is.
well.
So I think my plan is if one of these gets approved tonight, is to write a letter and send it to like all the residents north of Highway 20. So in Sterling Oaks, Lake Bluff, all the residents along Thomas Drive with the side streets, and East Drive and Hilltop, and just try to get everybody north of Highway 20 where we seem to have the problem. And then just let them know about this new ordinance, and then, the whole animal at large thing, that if we get complaints, so. And just try to explain to them, like, the 6 kittens that were taken to Lakeland were all in very poor health. And just try to, like, it's not good for all these cats to be outside, because they are sick. There's a lot of them that are sick and getting attacked. Like our complainant said, there's nights where, like, if she sits outside, she can just hear cats screaming. So, I mean, there's fighting going on between animals and stuff, so.
I think one of the pictures that she sent to you, I mean, there was a lot of damage to one of the cat's face. I mean, they really got into it, so.
Yeah, you would think that would attract some coyotes into the area. Right.
Yeah, and I think the other challenge from a food perspective, we have those 2 prairies. Like, I see them in my backyard. They stalk the high prairie grass, right? They're in there, eating mice and other rodents and stuff that live in the prairie. I joke with the chief that we'll solve this one day, and then I'll complain about the mice in my basement. But that is, I think, though, this is a risk. So there were about 40 cats in Sterling Oaks, and this was not over by the prairies, I don't think, that were caught. So there's got to be more out there. I've had kittens end up, like, I pull out of the garage to take my daughter to school, and the kittens go in, and then trying to get the mama to come in and get them to take them out. All those things are, I'm sure a lot of other people, I haven't had any damage, but I'm sure others have, so.
Where Jim and I live, this was a bit of a problem when I first moved in. And there was a simple conversation with those that were feeding the cats that this is something that needs to stop, and that behavior is becoming habitual with too many cats in the area. I had 2 cats in my garage and had to trap them and took them to Lakeland as well, just because of this population problem. But it works, it's effective. As soon as you eliminate the food source, they're gone. They no longer exist in our neighborhood like they did at one time, and it was simply taking the food source away. It's pretty simple, easy solution.
And it's not just the cats that's a problem. We ended up having to trap 13 skunks because you couldn't let the dogs out at night because all the dogs got sprayed. You couldn't sit out on your patio because there was a bunch of skunks. So my wife got the neighborhood together and we collected $1,500 to trap 13 skunks. So it's not just a cat problem. And the problem's so bad, you can actually look in the backyards and see, because it's a trail. You can see where, you know who's feeding them because you know where the trail goes. It's all down to bare dirt because that's how often it's like a super highway for cats and skunks.
So thoughts on the two different versions of ordinance here, or other suggested thoughts for discussion?
I like going with our trusted professional and the chief's idea behind number 2 being the one that he feels most comfortable with. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-05, creating section 189-6E, the second version of that ordinance.
I'll second it.
All right, questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So can we have Allison give us kind of in her next report that she gives out, like kind of maybe highlighting any time that she's been citing people for this? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, item 3, ordinance 2025-06, amend chapter 510 of the Village of East Troy Municipal Code relating to the 2931 Union Street Planned Development District. There is a memo here from Eileen. This was a public hearing at last week's Plan Commission. We typically do a notice to property owners nearby. That step was accidentally missed. It is not a legal requirement, and we did not want to hold up because the church, they're looking, I guess, here in September to come in. So we did send a notice to all of those residents last week and notified them that they would be able to come speak tonight or provide any written comments as well. So did we receive any written comments? I did not.
We have not. I don't know that the notices were received. We have been having problems with USPS lately. Steve, did you receive your notice? Okay, so Steve received his, thankfully, so that hopefully means the other neighbors did receive their notice.
Do you have, do you want to provide any, or do you have any concerns or comments you want to share?
Well, I don't know exactly what's being proposed.
Okay,
Okay, something about a commercial kitchen and then retail space.
okay.
That's all I know.
So Steve, maybe,
Not too informed.
yeah, so Steve, maybe you could kind of update the board on kind of what the proposal is here.
Yep, so like the conversation I had at the Plan Commission meeting, there is a church that wants to rent the space beginning in September, and they also would like to rent the upper floor of the old school space, which is 4 classrooms for their youth ministry, which would basically be for Sundays, for the place for the younger kids to go during Mass. And then so that takes up, that we're asking for the building, for that portion of the building and the upper area to be allowed church services, because when Wilted Rose moved in, we asked for that church space to be retail. And they have moved out, and we would always hope that a church would come back in there because that's the best use for that property. So they want that space, and they want the space upstairs for the youth ministry. So we had to ask for the office space upstairs to be church activities as well, because right now it's set for office and personal and professional services. So rather than me keep coming back to the Plan Commission for every business that wants to come in there, that is why we asked for, because right now we have retail approved in the church space. We have retail approved in the fellowship hall, which is the area below the church space. So we're asking to keep that in case, because the fellowship hall is not rented right now. The church has expressed interest in possibly doing their crock-pot dinners and potluck dinners and stuff like that in that lower level. There always was a kitchen there. There is still the kitchen, some kitchen appliances down there, so that's why the request for a commercial kitchen is in there. If they want to use that space for that sometime in the future, I don't want to have to come back to the Plan Commission for an extra $1,000 to ask to use it, which it was used for 100 years, as the church was used for 100 years as a church. So that's why the list of things that we want as permissible uses is as long as it is, because some of those uses have already been used in part of the building, and we just want it to kind of be for both parts of the building, the old church space and fellowship hall, as well as the newer classroom spaces. I did provide a list of what's currently in the church, and I'll go over that with you quickly. In the lower level of the classrooms, there is a personal trainer and a tattoo person. Both of them are by appointment only, operating pretty much normal hours, 3 or 4 clients a day, hour at a time type of thing. The upper floor, the main floor, has a hair studio and a massage therapist. Again, by appointment only. Again, hour at a time type thing. This is not a space that you can just walk in and sit and wait. So the addition of the angle parking, which is 13 spots, has been awesome. I've driven by there numerous times, and very rarely do I see more than half of those spaces filled. So, and in the evening, I see them filled for the Excellent or whatever's going on the square. So I think it was a welcome addition, being able to use for both spaces. Kind of unique, the church is going to be operating on Sunday like a church. None of the other businesses in the building operate on Sunday. So parking will not be an issue, and it's in the morning. So the residents, it's not going to be blocking their driveways in the evening and stuff like that. So that's kind of synopsis. If you have a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Any questions for Steve? Sir, does that give you a little bit more information? Sure, come on up. If you could just state your name and your address just for the record, and then, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why we wanted to make sure you guys had the opportunity.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. I live directly across the street, 2930 Union Street. I welcome the church that's there. I welcome the plans that they want to do. They've been nothing but nice people ever since they've been arriving about 6 weeks ago. The angle parking was something that I guess was needed, and I thought it was like a very, very good idea. I have one question about that, though. It pertains to the village and how they're going to handle it. Living in that house for 35 years, I've noticed that when the village plows, they plow 18 inches, 24 inches away from the curb. So when you got that angle parking there, you're going to be pushing those cars back further into the road. Much as on the other side of the road where there is no parking, the snow could be off of that part too. So that road is going to get a lot narrower than it is right now. And I'm sure it doesn't have to be that way if it's kept up, but I don't know if anybody realizes that you're going to lose almost 3-4 feet of space in that road due to the snow. Okay, so I didn't come here for that reason. I came here because of the kitchen. I talked to the church people. They knew nothing about the kitchen. I talked to them this afternoon. I had thought that what was presented here, if that is for the church to use as a kitchen, I thought that would be great for the church to have something like that. But when you talk commercial kitchen, I'm a retired plumber. I know what goes into a commercial kitchen. And does that open up the building to a restaurant? Does that move it on to other things? I mean, when we started this, it was going to be a church and office space. Now look where we are. So that's my only concern, is how far is it going to go? Now, the place has been up for, I saw a for sale sign 3-4 times outside. If this is a financial venture just to make money and move on, I'm against expanding in there. What's the next person going to do? So, but as far as the church is concerned, their intentions they made known to me today is they'd like to, if they can increase their congregation, dominate the building. And that's what their intentions are. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen, and they made that very clear. It all depends upon, what kind of congregation they can attract. But the people that I've seen, very nice, very happy to have them there. I've lived across the street from that church for 30 years. I love seeing it as a church. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in tonight. Other thoughts or questions here?
So to clarify, the commercial kitchen is for the use of the church, not a restaurant. Is that correct?
We do not, I have no intention of putting in a restaurant, nor do anybody else, and I believe they would have to come here for approval of that anyway. So Eileen's shaking her head yes. So the reason that we put commercial kitchen is because the appliances are there already. So if they want to use it for that sometime in the future, or someone wants to open a bakery in there, I mean, I'd love to have a bakery in town. Would they have to come for approval of a bakery in there? I don't know, but we're getting those kinds of requests. The church is like, well, what about that space below? If we wanted to use that for this, I said, well, I would have to go back and ask, and I'm already asking for it to be a church. I might as well come and get that out of the way. Anybody would have to present a business, like an occupancy permit, which you guys would have control over, whether they would be able to operate in there or not. So I don't want to be back here again in 3 months saying, okay, now that they want to use it, or a bakery wants to go in there. A restaurant is a whole different thing. I have no intention of doing a restaurant in there. So I hope that answers your questions.
So, yes, that's correct. A restaurant would need additional approvals. I just looked up bakery in our zoning code, and it falls under indoor sales or service. So it could potentially be retail, but that's something I would have to have Orrin clarify. Obviously, he's getting approval for a commercial kitchen, so if somebody wanted to go in there and bake products, they could. But then the question will be, does that just fall under retail then to sell the products as well? So that's something Orrin will have to clarify. I can't answer that on the spot. But yeah, the restaurant would not be allowed.
It'd be the same ordinance under what Kelly's Pot Pies and Toothpicks has for their catering business, right? Is that correct?
This is a little different because this is a planned unit development, so he has specific approvals for retail use and church use for that section of the building. So that's why I can't really answer it, because it's not like it's just highway business zoning.
Can you take a note about the snow removal? Yeah, okay, thank you.
And Tom, would that be addressed a similar way that we have the angle parking around the square? I mean, sorry, go ahead.
That ordinance that you guys just passed for the parking, Jason was the one that recommended, so it's going to fall under the same parking as the square in the block, each block off the square. It's kind of included in that now, which is nobody can park there from 2:30 until I think it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So technically, next week, if somebody parks there overnight, they can get a citation because there should be no cars parked there year-round from 2:30 to 5 or 6. I think Jason still needs to put up a signs on there because now the ordinance passed, but I think that might help with the snow issue, is this ordinance that we just passed tonight.
Yeah, our problem with the snow on Union Street is that we do allow overnight parking, and then it freezes, so they can't clear it out. All right, other questions or comments about the ordinance in front of us and the recommendation from the Plan Commission?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-06 to amend Chapter 510 of the Village of East Troy Municipal Code relating to the 2931 Union Street Planned Development District.
I'll second.
All right, questions or discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you both for coming in and giving us the background.
Yeah.
Yes. So, from a restaurant perspective, no, that cannot be a restaurant. He has to meet code to that. So, and then we will follow up. Our DPW director is out this evening. That would, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Correct. I mean, Steve, you're going to have occupancy of that space, so you'll have to contact the building inspector and go through those inspections.
Okay. That would be a discussion with the building inspector, so, for the occupancy. That would be with the property owner and what he needs to do to get there, so. Okay. If they would like to operate that, then they will need to meet the codes to get the occupancy permit from the building inspector. who
But yes, sir, I am
enforces that.
very aware of the fact that that is all necessary for commercial construction.
All right, thank you. All right, on to staff reports. Fire Chief's June 2025 report. There's, just for awareness, some emergency for the DeGaro family, so his time may be limited. So if you need something, let me know, and we can coordinate that. So he may not be as responsive to email or phone calls, Chief DeGaro, right now. So just be aware. Municipal Court, July 2025.
When I was reviewing this today, I noticed she didn't have her monthly receipts in that report, so I asked her to submit a new one. I'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, July financial report. Eileen, anything?
Sorry, my bookmarks for my packet are not working here, so. Really nothing specific. There were some things that, I was looking at today that just look out of alignment because of where we're at in the year. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions on them, but all of them that I reviewed had a reasonable explanation. I don't want to go through every single one, but if there's any that stuck out for anybody, I can explain.
All right, East Troy Area Emergency Services District minutes from June 19th. Questions for Scott? For Scott, anything you want to highlight?
My fastest meeting to date.
What was the adjournment time? 5:35. Oh, wow. Running that thing on a stopwatch. All right, items 2 and 3, CDA minutes from March 24th and May 27th. Questions for Jim? I kind of mentioned earlier the big thing, so. All right, draft plan commission minutes from last Monday, August 11th, most of which we dealt with tonight. Airport Advisory Committee minutes from June 9th. Any questions for Jim there? I did want the board to know I was actually out at the airport the other day. I did see something that Walter passed away, if you weren't aware. So they had they were collecting some signatures and stuff on a card. I don't know if the card's still there, but if you would like to sign. So. Okay. Any other questions on reports? Then I'll move that we go to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985-1E to discuss village's bargaining postures and negotiation strategies with respect to preliminary contracts as to possible future TID4 developments, and for the board to discuss their bargaining posture with possible offer to purchase properties.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
President Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Harding?
Yes.
Trustee Holm?
Yes.
Trustee Moody?
Yes.
Trustee Nugent? Yes. Trustee Seeger?
Yes.
Trustee